Projekt Guru.
Всем привет! С вами Zak Novak на радиостанции Novorossia Rocks. Welcome to Novorossia Rocks Radio Station. This is Zak Novak, your American in downtown Donetsk. Program is called Projekt Guru. Guru's in the house as always. Thank you, Guru, so much for all the hard work you do, as well as Andre, my engineer. Let's start off. Our sister republic, Lugansk, attacked once again. Also, shells hit main gas pipeline in Donetsk. The Nazi Ukraine government are at it again with their indiscriminate bombing of civilian areas. Intelligence photos coming in of drunk Ukraine junta soldiers firing away with no regard, no remorse, shelling and bombing civilians. The shelling of the western outskirts of the city of Donetsk overnight to Friday damaged the local natural gas supply system, according to Donbass gas utility. A gas pipeline in the Trudovskaya settlement was damaged, and the roof of a private home was destroyed as a result of artillery shelling on the night of February 19th. The emergency service 104 contained the accident, the company said. Early this morning, the repair and restoration team started to work to replace the damaged pipeline sections. Lugansk, our sister republic, positions shelled 2 times. According to the local Lugansk Inform Center news agency, the positions of our freedom fighters of Lugansk People's Republic were shelled 2 times over the past 24 hours. Nazi Kiev forces opened fire on the Nizhny Lozovoye village from the direction of the Mironovskaya village late on Thursday using infantry fighting vehicles. The shelling also targeted the neighboring Kalinovka village, and that attack came from positions in the Luganskova village. No casualties have been reported. Erdogan fascists and the Turkish junta government will pay for all the atrocities they have committed in Syria and in Kurdistan. But listen to this, Andre and Guru. 6 Turkish soldiers got blasted, killed by remote-controlled bomb in Kurdistan. This is in Turkey. 6 Turkish Nazi security forces members were killed and 1 soldier was seriously wounded in a blast in mainly Kurdish southeast, the armed forces said in a statement on Thursday. A handmade bomb detonated a remote control, killed the soldiers while traveling in a military vehicle, the military said. A day after a car bomb attacked in the capital Ankara killed 28 people. At the time of the blast, the military vehicle was searching for mines on the highway linking Diyarbakir, the largest city in the mainly Kurdish southeast, to the district of Lice. Viva PKK. United Nations report Afghan civilians killed by the Obama regime hits record high. A UN report revealed that civilian deaths in Afghanistan had once again hit a record high for a duration of the war. The largest increase was among Afghan security forces, who killed 28% more than they did killed the previous year. US strikes were on the rise too, however, with NATO occupation forces overall causing a 9% increase in civilian deaths, and the US rate of civilian deaths spiking to 1 in every 4 airstrikes, the highest level among U.S. warplanes since 2008. In 2009, U.S. occupation forces installed General Stanley McChrystal as their leader, and McChrystal imposed a series of new restrictions designed to reduce civilian casualties, arguing those deaths were creating more enemies. But after McChrystal's replacement, some of those restrictions were lifted in the name of improving troop morale. But it is only now that the rate of civilian deaths is back to the bad old days. The increase in civilian deaths in U.S. airstrikes by volume can be virtually wholly attributed to a single incident in November when a U.S. warplane attacked a Doctors Without Borders hospital, killing a large number of civilians within. Andre, this is for you. The Obama regime sending tanks and artillery forces into secret caves in Norway, echoing previous deployments during the Cold War. The Obama administration is deploying a significant number of tanks and artillery forces into a series of secret caves near the Russian border in Norway. Officials say the caves have 6,500 pieces of equipment and have in recent years been used to support the war in Iraq. Nominally, the new deployment is aimed at a new round of military drills, but Pentagon officials are also talking up the notion that the new deployment of tanks will reduce the cost of a future conflict with Russia. Norway's defense ministry says the new deployments are necessary to maintain credibility of the NATO alliance along the Russian border. Norway pays a significant portion of the cost of the upkeep of the caves. This deployment is separate from the massive amounts of US and NATO troops being thrown at Eastern Europe, similarly on the Russian border, but seems to be in the same vein based on the assumption that the alliance is ultimately going to go to war with Russia over something or other. 7 clicks away as Assad Tiger forces ready to circle U.S.-backed ISIS terrorists. Within 7 kilometers of closing the small gap that remained under ISIS control between the Al-Bab Plateau and the Al-Safira Plains. Once that gap is finally closed, the Tiger forces will have all of the remaining ISIS fighters that are entrenched inside the Al-Safira Plains surrounded. There will be no outlet to retreat. The Syrian Arab Army's Tiger forces and their allies have been incredibly successful in the Aleppo's eastern countryside after launching a large-scale offensive in early October 2015 to lift a 3-year-long siege in the Kweris military airport. Since then, the Tiger forces have managed to liberate over 45 villages from the Islamic State of Iraq and Al-Sham ISIS, while also entering a part of the Aleppo that has long been under the control of the aforementioned terrorist group and their affiliates. With the Kweris military airport firmly under control and several hundred square kilometers liberated, the Tiger forces and their allies are about to do something that will endanger ISIS presence in both the Aleppo and northern Syria areas. They are going to encircle them. For the last 5 weeks, the Tiger forces have been steadily advancing west towards the Sheikh Najjar industrial district in order to link their positions in the Al-Bab Plateau. So far, they have been relatively successful, positioning themselves within 7 kilometers, closing the small gap that remains under ISIS control between Al-Bab Plateau and Al-Safira Plains. Once that gap is finally closed, the Tiger forces will have all of the remaining ISIS fighters that are entrenched inside Al-Safira Plains surrounded. There will be no outlet of retreat. The Tiger forces are primarily concerned with Aleppo thermal power plant at the moment. However, once this imperative site is liberated, they will shift their attention to the final 3 villages that stand between them and their allies at the 3rd zone of the industrial district. Viva Assad, viva Tiger forces. Serbs returning to Kosovo were attacked by Albanian thugs. Civilian Serbs returning to their homeland of Kosovo, Serbia were attacked by Albanian lowlifes, cowards who only know how to threaten the innocent. Scare tactics is what they do best in communities of Kosovo, Serbia. Albanians who are criminals, thugs, gangsters have caused nothing but havoc on the holy land of Kosovo, Serbia, including the desecration of our churches, and as always, the Albanian mafia police stand by and watch. 2 returning homes were attacked in Klina, central Kosovo, Metohija. The Minister of Returns and Communities in the province said in a release on Thursday. Windows were shattered and material damage caused the attack, which occurred yesterday at about 5 p.m. Minister of Communities and Returns Dalibor Jeftic said that it was a message that returnees were not welcome in Kosovo. The attacks on the homes of Vukoje Radosavljevic and Jivan Majic are a message to all returnees that they are not welcome. We are doing everything and will continue to do what we can to keep those who return and to ensure better circumstances for those who wish to return. Jeftic urged all institutions in Kosovo to assist in that effort. Andre, listen to this. Toxic chemicals, arsenal of death as NATO drops bombs in the Adriatic Sea. Terrorist organization NATO fighter jets drop bombs and missiles into Adriatic Sea, and not only in the special zone but also near the coast. This is the latest shocking discovery that disturbed the Balkan region. According to Jutarnyi news agency, it results in creation of high concentration of toxic chemicals, and considering sea currents, this is a movable arsenal of death. At the bottom of the coast of Pescara, about 50 miles from the eastern coast, is a huge arsenal of bombs from World War II and military NATO mission in 1999. During the bombing of Serbia, the concentration of mustard gas, phosphorus, and other toxic chemicals is frightening, and bombs are subject to sea currents, so this is a movable arsenal of death. Italian journalist Gianni Lanes argues that NATO and the Italian authorities are lying when they say there are 6 special zones marked in the Adriatic Sea where returning military aircrafts release bombs and missiles that were not used during their mission. According to information he obtained during his investigation, there are 24 of such zones, and they are not located only in the international waters, but also within the state territory on both Italian and Croatian side. Recently, a mass mortality of turtles and dolphins was recorded along the Italian coast. Italian state agency ICRAM, which follows this phenomenon, states that the bodies of the dead animals were covered with burns and deep wounds, said Lanes, who will soon publish a book in which he has said will reveal frightening details of the great number of cases of tumors in infants. We demand from the international community full investigations on crimes against Serbs. Director of Serbian Government Office for Kosovo Metohija, Marko Đurić, said on Tuesday, 15 years since an attack on a Niš express bus near Podujevo, in which 12 Serbs were killed and 43 wounded, that it was unacceptable to see the crime not getting a court hearing to offer the victims and their families at least some kind of consolation. Even today, after 15 years have passed, the perpetrators of this grave crime have not been found. Just as those who killed the Serb children in Goraždevac, the 14 Reapers in Staro Gracko, the Stolic family in Oblic have remained unknown, and just as nobody knows who set fire to and destroys Serbs' homes and desecrates churches and monasteries in Kosovo almost every day, they know that the case is closed and that only suspect Florim Ejupi, sentenced to 40 years in prison in the first instance verdict, was acquitted by the Kosovo Supreme Court in 2009 due to lack of evidence, is devastating. We expect and demand from the international community and the authorities in charge in the province to renew investigation into this and all other cases of attacks on Serbs, solve all unsolved crimes, and hand their immediate perpetrators and give sentences that they deserve as soon as possible. U.S. airstrikes slaughtered 38 civilians, including 3 children, in 48 hours in Syria. Over the past 48 hours, the Obama regime has slaughtered 38 civilians, including 3 children. The U.S. has been escalating its involvement in Syria in recent days with these airstrikes, but apart from Al-Hol seems to be having a limited success and also causing a lot of civilian casualties. While the Pentagon generally disputes civilian deaths, the incidents are fueling concern from human rights groups. The inaccuracy of the Hasaq strikes coming in the only Syrian province which has U.S. ground troops also adds to doubts about the intelligence upon which the U.S. coalition is basing its airstrikes around Syria. As reported Tuesday, an early morning U.S. airstrike against the city of Shadati killed 15 civilians outside a bakery. This incident was the start of a flurry of U.S. airstrikes in Syria's northeast, which over the past 48 hours have left at least 30 civilians dead, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. 3 villages near Shadadi were targeted early Thursday morning, killing another 15 civilians, including 3 children, while 8 more civilians were killed in airstrikes elsewhere around the region. A separate strike in the town of Al-Hod did manage to kill 35 ISIS fighters, however. Clearly, the strikes like the bakery give the appearance of using the signature strikes tactic, just bombing anything on the ground that the pilot thinks might be important. Human Rights ECHR to review over 550 major violations by the Ukraine junta regime. The European Court of Human Rights ECHR in Strasbourg will review more than 550 complaints from residents of eastern Ukraine, Donbass, on the violations of their rights during military operations by the Ukrainian junta military, a spokesman from Russia's investigative committee said Wednesday. The ECHR accepted 551 complaints from residents from southeastern Ukraine on the violation of their rights. Ukraine's southeast Donbass has been engulfed in the conflict since April 2014, when Kiev junta launched a military operation to suppress autonomy supporters in the Donbass region. Over 9,000 people have died since the start of the conflict in eastern Ukraine, Donbass, according to the United Nations. In late January, ECHR President Guido Raimondi said Ukraine, among all countries, had the most pending applications at the Strasbourg court, with almost 14,000. To add to this, Guru, listen to this. The daily reports of the Special Monitoring Mission of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe have for some weeks now provided grim reminder that the civil war ambitions of the governing regime in Kiev, Ukraine, have been renewed. Each daily report is detailing significant violations of the ceasefire agreement by the armed forces of Ukraine against the people of Donbass region in the east of Ukraine. Kiev co-signed a ceasefire agreement in Minsk, Belarus on February 12, 2015, but has never lived up to it. And what to say of the silence of Western mainstream media and governments about these ongoing violations of the ceasefire? Other daily reporting of ceasefire violations is freely available to English language readers on Novorossia Today. That's us. The lashing out by the Kiev regime against Donbass is related to its political and economic meltdown, including the recent resignations of the Minister of the Economy and the Prosecutor General of Ukraine. These officials share the Kiev regime's pro-Europe, pro-privatization agenda, but even they cannot stomach the corruption of those in power in Kiev. Russia promises to protect Kurds against Turkish junta invasion of Syria. Russia has promised to protect Kurdish fighters in Syria in case of a ground offensive by the Turkish junta, a move that would lead to a big war, the Syrian group's envoy to Moscow said in an interview on Wednesday. We take this threat very seriously because the ruling party in Turkey is a party of war, Rodi Osman, head of the Syrian Kurds' newly opened representative office, said in a Kurdish via a Russian interpreter. Russia will respond if there is an invasion. This isn't only about the Kurds. They will defend the territorial sovereignty of Syria. Viva Syria, Viva Assad, Viva PKK, Viva Putin. Everybody, like I stress all the time, be safe out there. See you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye, folks.